Into the light Clubman class, championship leader Simon Rudd is missing from the grid today as he starts his tilt at the 2013 Rd.3 Formula 4 Championship at Silverstone. So it's a golden opportunity for the rest of the field to take a win and points away from him in the championship. And the reversal of the final two Bayford result moves Dave Waters to within 3 points of Simon Rudd, and with Rudd's absence a great chance to take full advantage, although with 3 podiums in the last 3 finals, Jack Harding is revealing his own championship credentials. After the morning qualifying heats, Heat 1 winner Dan Milner starts in pole position for Final 1 with Stephen Child on grid 2. Ben Finch and Carl Watt start on row 2, Stephanie Walters and Robert Lark on row 3. Simon Taylor, Chris Lewis-Evans line up on row 4, Ross Wheeligan on grid 9, while second in the championship Heat 2 winner Dave Waters rounds out the top 10. We welcome Patrick Nicholls to Clubman's on grid 12, and Bayford Lights winner Justin Buck steps up a class on grid 15. On board with Stephen Child trying to time a run on Dan Milner over start finish, and Milner's got the whole shot. Timed that perfectly, Ben Finch into third. Stephanie Walters should have 4th place coming out of stadium. Indeed she has, but she's got Carl Watt on a bumper. Down at the hairpin, 19 carts pile in. Will they all make it out? Yes they will. Dave Waters there on the left of Chris Lewis-Evans. Going down a hairpin too, there's a lot of contacts. And Jack Harding, who's had poor qualifying on grid 16 on a 19 cart grid, has got through there. More contact further back, that looks like Alex Mitchison and Justin Buck. Ray Norris, Jed McInnes, Steve Townsend bringing round the tail of the field, but it's Dan Milner leading Stephen Child over start finish, and Stephanie Walters looking for a way by Ben Finch. Out of the S's, down to the hairpin, and it's Milner, Child, gap developing to Finch under pressure from Walters, heavy contact. Simon Taylor on Robert Lark, and that allows through Dave Waters to pick up a spot, and I think Chris Lewis-Evans is going to go through with him as well. Indeed he has. And it looks as though Stephanie Walters wants to be by Ben Finch, who's forced on the defensive into pylon. She'll be trying to set him up for turn 1, and I think Finch went in a bit narrow into the last corner. Could be an opportunity to draft past, and here she comes. Stephanie Walters looking to the inside, into stadium, hasn't got it done yet, but she's got her wheels inside for the second apex. Runs Finch out wide, and she's through. He's over the curbs and under pressure from Carl Watt and Robert Lark down at the hairpin. Finch goes in deep to hold off Watt, and it's Lark coming out the better for it. Dave Waters on the bumper as well. Oh, that's a clumsy move from Waters. Finch runs out wide, and Chris Lewis-Evans might get a run on the pair of them. He's prepared to let Finch back through, and Waters jumps in, trying to make the most of it, and I think he's done it. He's got the spot back. He better be careful, he could pick up a penalty for driving like that, and Simon Taylor has demoted Chris Lewis-Evans as well. So Taylor up to 8th. Lewis-Evans forced to look for a way by. I saw Justin Buck in the background trying to pick somebody off, probably Patrick Nicholls. Jack Harding's gone past James Hazelhurst for 11th. Down at the hairpin. Nobody's moved the camera just yet. But it's Dan Milner leading from Stephen Child, Stephanie Walters, Robert Lark, Carl Watt, Ben Finch, Dave Waters, Simon Taylor, Ross Wheeligan coming under pressure from Jack Harding. Oh, and another clumsy move from Dave Waters that didn't work. Got to pick his moments better than this. Milner pulling clear. His advantage is 0.7 of a second on Stephen Child, and Stephanie Walters puts herself on provisional pole for the second final with that fastest lap. Very early days in that though. She's pulling clear of Robert Lark. The main battle is over 8th place. Oh, Jack Harding coming for a long way back on Ross Wheeligan, and I don't think Wheeligan took too kindly to that either. James Hazelhurst trying to hold off Ray Norris. Will this be an opportunity for Justin Buck? We ride on board with Oliver Goodacre down into pylon. Hazelhurst stays ahead of Buck, but has indeed lost out to Ray Norris. And Patrick Nicholls throws it in rather speculatively. That's not really an overtaking spot, and he may pay for that as Alex Mitchison gets a run on him now down into turn 1. And he also loses out to Jed McInnes. So Nicholls back to 17th. Oh, Waters from a long way back on Simon Taylor. He goes in deep. He's going to make it stick because he's got the inside for hairpin 2. A wild ride here from Dave Waters. Trying to force his way past Simon Taylor. They're side by side through pylon. Well, that was fairly clean and fair. And that's helping Chris Lewis-Evans close in. Waters going very deep and narrow into the last corner. And he's put himself under pressure once again. I saw a penalty board out there. It was kart number 4. That was Jack Harding. That must be for the move on Ross Wheeligan. Jed McInnes down the inside of Alex Mitchison. He goes through and up to 15th place. So there's Jack Harding now racing with a penalty. Dan Milner continues to lead Stefan Child. His lead is still 0.6 of a second, so it's just being managed at the moment. Stefan Child has managed to peg him. 2 seconds off the lead. Stephanie Walters runs in third. Ray Norris getting past Justin Buck, apologising for contact. Over start finish. Simon Taylor has pulled out a couple of kart lengths on Dave Waters. The race has settled down through half distance. Jack Harding going past Chris Lewis-Evans for 9th, on the road at least. Ray Norris still having to hold off Justin Buck, who's coming late and hard down at the hairpin. Oh, more contact. A lot of furniture at Rye House. Just helps make the track more narrow, along with the kinks in the straight. As you can see, none of these straights are actually straight. And Robert Lark now on the bumper of Stephanie Walters down into turn 1. Carl Watt sets another fastest lap, moving himself up on the grid. And Walters now on the defensive. Carl Watt has been enjoying the slipstream to get pole position for final 2. Now he's looking for a way by. They're rubbing tyres. Out of hairpin 2. Walters stays in third. Carl Watt now joins the tail of this battle. So it's a 3-way fight for third place as we move on to the next lap of this 14-lap final. On to lap 10. And Lark once again on the bumper down into stadium. Not quite close enough to put a move in. Jack Harding has caught up with Dave Waters down in stadium and is down the inside. He moves through to 8th place. And once again, Robert Lark seems to be strong down to hairpin 1. But Walters holds him off into hairpin 2, and this is going to give a chance to Carl Watt to go round the outside of Stephanie Walters. He's not brave enough to try it, and that's probably the better part of valour on this one. So Walters stays in third, but this time it's Carl Watt on a bumper coming over start finish, and she's already on the defensive going down to turn 1, feeling vulnerable into stadium. No problem here for Dan Milner, or indeed Stefan Child. He's 0.7 of a second behind. So Walters narrow into hairpin 1. And you know this could bring Ben Finch back into play here. He's not that far behind in 6th place. So the leading duo go through. Stephanie Walters slow off hairpin 2 again on the defensive. And Ben Finch is closing back in. Simon Taylor under pressure from Jack Harding. Oh, late and hard down the inside of pylon. It's a lovely move when that one comes off. Has he got it done? Well, yes, he has, and Dave Waters is trying to pick up a place cheaply. He's tried and failed, and this might give Chris Lewis-Evans a chance to run round the outside of him down into stadium. That will be a tough nut to crack, and I don't think he will. Well, Robert Lark now trying to get that position back from Carl Watt down at the hairpin. Stephanie Walters now is on a defensive line every lap, every corner. And here comes Lark down the inside. Perhaps she's trying to back Carl Watt into Robert Lark, and between the pair of them, they just might let Stephanie Walters escape. Carl Watt's got the position back into 4th place, but Stephanie Walters has pulled out a couple of kart lengths. So over start finish onto the penultimate lap for Dan Milner. His lead is 0.88 of a second on Stefan Child. 4 seconds behind, Stephanie Walters coming through with 0.2 of a second on Carl Watt. And Ben Finch is joining this battle to make it a 3-way dice over 4th place. And if Stephanie Walters' plan was to try and back Carl Watt into Robert Lark into Ben Finch. Well, it's worked. Oh, Justin Buck takes out James Hazelhurst. That'll be a penalty for that one. He's fast but clumsy. Pretty much the same way as Dave Waters has been through this final. So coming on to the final lap, I don't think we're going to see any difference up front. Dan Milner's lead is still 0.8 of a second on Stefan Child, who's settling into a comfortable second place, probably the easiest trophy he's won in a while, because all the hard work was done in the heats with the qualifying position. Ben Finch now looking down the inside of Robert Lark at the hairpin. He's halfway through, can't get it finished, and I think that's it for that one. So Dan Milner coming into pylon for the last time. Stefan Child is going to have second. Stephanie Walters is still managing to hold off Carl Watt, who's running out of corners. She's narrow into pylon. He's going to get one last chance into the last corner. Meanwhile, Dan Milner follows up second at Bayford Meadows with a win at Rye House. Stefan Child finishes on the podium for the first time after a string of fourth places this season. Stephanie Walters hangs on ahead of Carl Watt and a first trophy for her in 2013.
In third place, Stephanie Walters. In second place today was, he started on Group 2 as well, was Stefan Child. But today's winner of final number 1, he started on pole, Dan Milner. Want a group shot of you.
Once again, final 1 has provided the lap times to set the grid for final 2, and it's a new light clubman, Justin Buck, showing the speed that got him promoted to clubman's on pole position ahead of Jack Harding. Ray Norris on grid 3 ahead of final 1 winner Dan Milner. Alex Mitchison and Carl Watt start on row 3. Simon Taylor and Stefan Child on row 4. Chris Lewis-Evans and Stephanie Walters round out the top 10. New championship leader Dave Waters is in danger of losing his lead by starting only on grid 15. While Harding starts on the front row. Coming out that last corner, Justin Buck controls the pace now, and he's bringing them through at quite a clip. On the outside, Jack Harding just gets on his bumper. Ray Norris through to third. Dan Milner's going to go the long way round to Ray Norris at Stadium. Hard to make it work. We'll have to wait down at the hairpin to see if it comes off. On board with Stefan Child, trying to hold off Stephanie Walters. Has he made it work? Oh, they're all piling in. Ben Finch came in sideways and took out Jed McInnes. Robert Lark under pressure, and Waters who throws it down the inside of hairpin 2. Chris Lewis-Evans, James Hazelhurst, 3 wide coming down into pylon. Justin Buck arrives sideways. Waters has got that spot in the background and has got a queue behind him. Rounding out lap 1, there's a penalty board out, no surprise. I suspect that's for Ben Finch. Justin Buck leads. Jack Harding, gap then to Ray Norris. Running wide through Stadium to make a late apex. Jack Harding will make a careful note of that. That's an opportunity to pass if he can get close enough going into turn 1. Stefan Child holding off Stephanie Walters down at the hairpin. They're losing touch with Simon Taylor. And coming out of hairpin 2, Stefan suggests to Stephanie to just calm it down a bit and follow him for a while. James Hazelhurst trying to find a way past Robert Lark. That's for 11th place, but Justin Buck leads on to lap 3. Harding takes a look over his shoulder, possibly to see how much time and space he's got on Ray Norris, so he can plan a move on Justin Buck. Out the S's. Buck takes a look over his shoulder, stays on the racing line. Dan Milner is closing in on 3rd place. Oh, more contact between Child and Walters, and it's 3 wide for the lead coming off hairpin 2. So Justin Buck struggling to hold off Jack Harding. There's a battle going on up front. There's a battle in the midfield. Waters down the inside of Walters at pylon. That's a good move from Dave Waters. Contact from Robert Lark. Now Waters will have to defend because Walters has got plenty of speed coming down the main straight usually. Alex Mitchison trying to close on Jack Harding. Well, we've had a little bit of a change around here. Whoa, Dan Milner from a long way back on Justin Buck forces him down the escape road. Buck coming back on in 2nd place, holding off Jack Harding, and a chance for Ray Norris to escape here. Dan Milner's done him a huge favour by putting him in the lead. And Milner won second place, but there's contact with Jack Harding, waving him back through, and Justin Buck has been reversed down the line here. Carl Watt's ahead of him, and we come through. This is shaping up to be a cracker here in lightweight. Clubman on to lap 5. On board with Stefan Child, that's Justin Buck ahead of us. And Stephanie Walters has gone past Dave Waters. She's back in 9th place, and Ray Norris has got a 1.25 second lead over Jack Harding, Dan Milner. Oh, and Walters down the inside of Dave Waters again. So Walters and Waters going at it. Bit of a tongue twister, that one. Ross Wheeligan trying to find a way past Robert Lark and find a way into 11th. On board with Oliver Goodacre. All very frantic stuff here in final 2 at Rye House. The track playing its part, but the driver's playing a bigger one. On to lap 6. A shake of the head from Dave Waters. Ross Wheeligan ahead of Robert Lark and into 11th place. Carl Watt down the inside of Alex Mitchison, halfway through, forcing Mitchison to the escape road. Contact coming back on there. Justin Buck trying to recover from a couple of bad laps. Stefan Child might find himself on the wrong side going in a pylon, but there's nobody up the inside, so he gets away with it. Justin Buck behind Alex Mitchison. Stefan Child now trying to go around the outside of Justin Buck. It'll be a block pass in the last corner, and it opens himself up to Stephanie Walters, who goes past Stefan Child, and he has to block off Dave Waters into turn 1. Whoa, it's getting very racy here. They're banging wheels again as Waters goes through on Stefan Child. Well, we're coming up on half distance, and this one's been a cracker. Whoa, Justin Buck takes out Stefan Child. And I think he's claiming he was loaded up into the back of him. You'll have to watch that one on the video and replay yourselves. Patrick Nicholls in a sandwich with Ben Finch. Oh, and he gets on his bumper, who goes past Steve Townsend. So coming round to finish lap 7, Ray Norris's lead has been reduced to 0.7 of a second. That's the penalty board, and it's out for Dave Waters and Justin Buck when he comes by. So the new championship leader racing with a penalty now. Jack Harding in second, ahead of Dan Milner. So Waters trying to get back on the bumper of Stephanie Walters. Now any positions he can pick up can mitigate the damage the penalty will do. So he'll be keen to get by if he can. The field beginning to string out. Ray Norris's lead though has shrunk now to just under 0.3 of a second. And the 23 number has been held out again for Justin Buck. I think he might get excluded from this one on totting up of the penalties. So Jack Harding closing in on the lead. It's down to a kart length. Coming into hairpin 1. Can Ray Norris hang on? It's a big ask. This is only lap 9 of 15. Dan Milner settled in 3rd place. We'll be looking to pick up the pieces if it all goes pear-shaped for Norris or Harding. Carl Watt coming through in 4th place. Simon Taylor a good 5th ahead of Alex Mitchison. And then Stephanie Walters and Dave Waters fighting hard over 7th place. Another fastest lap for Carl Watt, and he set that on his own, so he's got plenty of speed. He may factor in this final, the podium trophies before the finish. Well, it's a 3-way dice for the lead now. Dan Milner is getting onto the bumper of Jack Harding as he closes on Ray Norris. Looking over his shoulder, you can hear him. Looking to the inside, down the inside of pylon. Now that's why he was looking over his shoulder. He was just making sure he had the room to get the manoeuvre in and not risk being overtaken by Milner. Milner had a nibble at Ray Norris, and that's released Jack Harding over start-finish. Now Milner will be looking to find a way past Ray Norris fairly quickly. And Dave Waters on the bumper once again of Stephanie Walters into turn 1. A lot of contact there. Rubbing is racing, of course. And Jack Harding, I think, has pulled out about half a second. on Ray Norris. He's got a kart length or two on Dan Milner. Carl Watt is closing in. Carl Watt, probably the fastest driver on the circuit at the moment. Dan Milner's got to get on with this one before Carl Watt gets in touch. Down into turn one, Norris has got good pace in that kart, so he's going to have to find a different place to get by one of the hairpins, or maybe he's into pylon, as Jack Harding did. Looking beyond Carl Watt, Simon Taylor still running a strong 5th place. Milner closing in. Is he close enough to strike in pylon? Well, you can see he had a look down the inside there. Thought better of it. Well, we're into the final stages of this final, and the trophies are going to be decided, not surprisingly, amongst these 4 drivers. Perm 3 from 4, and I think Jack Harding is heading for victory. Dan Milner looking to the inside in a hairpin 1, comes from a long way back and goes in deep. Ray Norris gets it back on the exit. Wow, are things brewing up, boiling up for a big finish? We shall see. Stephanie Walters is closed on Alex Mitchison in 6th place. Getting on his bumper. That will invite in Dave Waters as well. Yeah, they're stacking up behind Mitchison now. Oh, an opportunist move from Waters, and he's got the spot on the start finish. Coming on the penultimate lap. Oh, there's contact from Walters, and Waters is piled into the tyre barrier. And I can tell you, I could play you the audio from his onboard camera, but I'd have to bleep most of it. Dave Waters gone loony. Coming round then, Jack Harding leads Ray Norris. Dan Milner, Carl Watt, with Milner looking for a way past Ray Norris. Norris has got his work cut out to hang on to a trophy, with Carl Watt in close attendance. Coming round to start the final lap, Jack Harding leads and is heading for the championship lead with Dave Waters parked at the side of the road. Ray Norris under pressure from Dan Milner, and Milner's through. Oh, is he? Not quite there, and that will invite in Carl Watt. We've got a 3-way dice for the 2 podium steps. James Hazelhurst now trying to find a way past Stephanie Walters. She runs in 7th. Out of hairpin 2, just 2 spots left for Dan Milner. In pylon or a block pass in the last corner, and it's up the inside into pylon, goes a long way in, runs Ray Norris out wide and allows through Carl Watt to 2nd. Milner does the right thing and waves him back through. It's the first win of the season for Jack Harding, and he is the new leader of the Light Clubman Championship after Dave Waters crashes out in controversial style and drops to 2nd. A first trophy of the season for Carl Watt finishing 2nd. Ray Norris picks up a noble 3rd place.
In 3rd place today, Ray Norris. In 2nd position was Carl Watt, but the winner of final 2. He started on the outside of the front row, and good drive from Jack Harding.